I call this In Search of a Messiah. This is Kingsley Moghalu. By the way, he was in Central Bank of Nigeria. This is an educated man. This is not your average Joe. But this is what he has to say. He says here that Obasanjo is the only pan-Nigerian leader that Nigeria has had since 1999. Then he says that in his older years, he has revised his views about nationhood rather than the false nationhood of united, indivisible Nigeria, minus the real inclusion of some of its parts in the possibilities of ultimate political leadership. The question is this: who removed any part from ultimate political leadership? It's a rhetoric that people share. This doesn't, you don't have to be an uneducated person to say this. The most educated person from the Southeast says the same thing. How do we know that the Southeast has been removed from what? I've not been included in ultimate political leadership. How do we know that? And why do I say it's the Southeast? Look at the next thing he says. It says, minus the real inclusion of some of its parts in the possibilities of ultimate political leadership that has been the real pattern of his Civil War contemporaries, I am yet to see a truly national leader for Nigeria, including him. He's not a national leader. This is all about, you've got to be able to allow my people to lead, because that shows that you're including us. Nobody is going to allow anybody to lead in Nigeria to prove that you are being included. And this Civil War narrative that he has whipped it up a number of times in this single piece, it may mention it about 2 or 3 times. It's to let you know that there's something wrong. For instance, let me read one of the things he said, and I'm going to come back to the real issue. He says, the causes and consequences of the Nigerian Civil War. Nigerian leaders have been cowards over this question, burying their heads in the sand like ostriches, instead of being statesmen and fashioning out a strategy for healing and closure that has yet to happen. The reason there has not been closure and healing is because of leaders from the Southeast. It's not because of Nigeria. And this generation has to understand what Nigeria has done. And I'm not saying Nigeria has done enough. Nigeria has not done enough. Nigeria needs to do more. We have to do more. But you see, this thing where you say, oh, Nigerian leaders are burying their heads in Guinea. What else? What else has to be done? Because this generation will not be bamboozled and blackmailed into kowtowing to people's idea of justice. Because that justice itself, the concept of justice, as far as folks like this are concerned, is warped. It's warped. What exactly is the federal government of Nigeria owing the eastern region after the Civil War, or the Southeast? What exactly is Nigeria owing the southeastern part? Presidency. Nigeria owes nobody any political office. You have to vie for that and fight for it. And anybody can get it. As far as the Civil War is concerned, people have to remember that the Civil War was not fought last year. It was fought between 1967 and 1970. And 9 years after the Civil War, the Southeast produced a vice president. Let me ask you a question. Where in the world do you have a civil war in a nation, and the part that lost produces the vice president after a few years? Where in this world? And by the way, why? Because you see, we don't talk about these things. If you don't talk about it, they will just keep telling you that you owe them something. What exactly does Nigeria owe the Southeast that has not been paid? My answer is nothing. The Southeast is a fundamental part of Nigeria, just like every other group. There's nothing special about the Southeast, and there's nothing worse about it. It's not like, oh, it's a terrible place, just throw it away, or it's a better place, treat it, or it's a special place, treat it better than. What exactly is it that the Southeast is owed by the federal government of Nigeria? Nothing. And I'm answering my own question. I've read I've read quite a bit. Last week I was reading about Barrister Okpabi Asika, who was the administrator of the East Central State after the war, and people talk about him and the speed in which he rebuilt the eastern part of Nigeria. And I was asking myself, How come they are saying he rebuilt the Eastern Nigeria, but people are saying that Eastern Nigeria was never rebuilt? So what was he commended about for rebuilding nothing? You see, during the war, the money that was meant to go to the East Central State, by the way, when you hear the phrase East Central State, it's talking about today's Southeast region. Okay? So the East Central State, the money that was meant to go to them wasn't going to them because, of course, it was a war. And then that was the base of the war, right? That was Ojuku's base. It was in Enugu. I will save that money, put all of that money together, and I handed it over to Asika. That's throughout the duration of the war, which lasted 30 months. The allocation that was meant to go to the East Central State after the war. So when you hear that Asika did something very fast, Okpabi Asika, by the way, fantastic man, but of course, it's not like they call him Sabo. Anybody that does something good in the Southeast is Sabo. Anybody that wants to work with the North, or work with the West, or work with other people is a Sabo. Like, you have to prove that you are special and you are better than every other person for you to be recognized as a human being. It's insane. That money got into Okpabi Asika's hand. That's some of the things that he used. Of course, got other funds from federal government to push stuff. 990,000 pounds from subvention on a monthly basis went to the present day Southeast. That was the East Central State at the time. 990,000 pounds on a monthly basis. 3.5 million pounds went to African Continental Bank, Azikiwe's bank, just so Igbo traders will be able to access loans in that bank. Another money went to Cooperative Bank of Eastern Nigeria, CBEN, from the federal government through AWO, of course, so that people will be able to access money in that particular bank. So ACB got about 3.5 million pounds, CBEN, but another amount went there. I can't remember now. 990,000 pounds on a monthly basis as subvention. The bulk money from all the money that was saved in terms of the allocation for the East Central State all through the war. What else? I just came here today earlier today I was saying that the runway, the emergency runway at Akanu Ibiam Airport, international airport by the way, at Enugu, was fixed by the federal government, and then it opened today. People will say, come here and tell you that there's no international airport in the East. Even when I just said that they just fixed the runway. And who fixed that runway? The federal government. But guess who people are praising? The governor of the state. That has nothing to do with that runway. You're not hated. You're the one doing the hating. So what exactly, like, sincerely, what should the federal government do? And let me say this. It's a pattern that started before the independence of Nigeria. Not even the war. Before independence. It's a game of, by the time I blackmail you, you will see the reason to give me something. So I'm going to say it like you hate me, you're not doing enough for me, you have not given me, what did they call this one? The ability to have the ultimate political power. If you want ultimate political power, you have to do the ultimate political thing that everybody does. 12 million people voted Buhari in 2003. 12 million, guys. 12 million. The highest vote Peter Obi has had is 6 million. The 12 million was consistent from 2003 all the way to 2015. 12 years. But the 12 million people could not get him into power. The 12 million people could not get him into power until he worked with the West. But in those 12 years, not once did we see him coming out to cry that they didn't allow him to get ultimate political power because he was Fulani. 12 million, guys. 12. That's times 2 of what Peter Obi had. He didn't tell you it was because he was Igbo or it was Fulani. He didn't tell you because they are denying it. Nobody said. When you say things like this, we already know you have no political backbone. You're a weakling. I'm not talking about the entire people. I'm talking about the specific people making this statement. Maybe, see, you can be very powerful in finance. You can be very great as a lecturer. You can be very wonderful in your career, and people cannot take that from you. But that does not translate into being smart politically. It can be a fantastic professor and be very like meh when it comes to politics. And let me tell you, that's not the worst of what this man says.